Hi, and welcome to the Healers Connection. I'm Dr. Michelle Petacola, the producer of Healers Connection and also the founder of Second Chance Secrets, where I empower smart men and women to recreate their lives after loss, divorce, or a major life challenge. And I do that by helping them to master the 4 superpowers of a great human adventure. One of those superpowers is the body. And that's the focus of our talk tonight, the body and how you can make it be more fun so that you can have a better life, how to learn to work with it, because your body is actually your manifester, your machinery for creating what it is you're here to create in this world. And if you don't develop a good relationship with your body, you can have a lot of problems. And my guest tonight, I have 2 experts on the body who will help you in mastering your body and helping it to become your buddy and your friend. Before we begin, I want to offer you a little gift because body is one of my superpowers, including spirit, the brain, which is part of the body, but has a mind of its own. It's kind of like the CPU of the body. And then others. And I help people to integrate those 4 superpowers so that you can have a better human adventure. What I'm offering tonight is an email series to help activate your body, to activate the 5 senses of your body. All you need to do is I'm going to give you the link, is to go to tiny URL, body-activation.com, and you can get this email series. I think it's like maybe 9 days of really great tips and exercises to stimulate your body, to bring it online, and to really appreciate and enjoy what your body has to offer. Because the reality for me was that I shut my body down for many, many years. Now, why would I do that? Because I didn't want to experience my emotions. You know, when you turn off your emotions, you also turn off a lot of your body awareness. Now, what a waste. This body is so amazing. It has so much to enjoy, so many sensory delights. But if you've shut it down, you can't feel it. You can't enjoy that. And worst of all, when you can't feel and you can't hear your body, you're missing vital information that is essential for you to have a great human adventure. So I'm going to go ahead and post that again. It's tinyurl.com/body-activation. No, I guess there's no .com on there. And I'll put it in there.
You got it.
Okay. Next, I would like to introduce our first guest, and I'm going to bring her on the stage in a minute, but let me read her bio. It's pretty interesting. Oralia Acosta. She is a certified health coach with over 20 years experience in nutrition. She has experienced several life-threatening illnesses, gut-related, that's digestion, and has been down the long and winding road of creating health for herself and her body. Oralia has deep reverence and respect for the human body and knows it has an amazing capacity to heal. When coaching her clients, the focus is on habit and lifestyle change and bio-individualized nutrition to help clients to discover what works for their body. One of the most important aspects of healing is to learn to listen to our bodies. Amen to that. They are miraculous, magnificent, magnanimous pieces of machinery and hold infinite wisdom for us to discover. As a coach, it is her mission to help you establish a lifelong rapport with your body and fall in love with it. Please welcome Oralia Acosta. Oralia, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you. And there you are.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, hi, Oralia. Love that you're here. I want to start by asking you, would you be willing to share a little bit about your own healing journey? Oftentimes when we do that, people get it that you have been in the trenches and you know what it's like to navigate
Sure.
ill health or unhappy health.
Right. Well, I'll start maybe about 30 something years ago when I moved to Italy. And after a while, I started to get very, very sick. And I became so sick that I had to leave the country. But before leaving Europe, I went to France. And there I continued to get sick and sicker, and I almost needed emergency surgery. And what happened is that I was starting to develop gluten intolerance. So 30 plus years ago, we didn't have all the celiac and all of the awareness that we currently have around wheat and glyphosate and all of these things that are very detrimental to our bodies. Now, we may not have the awareness, but guess what? Our body does. And this is exactly what I mean when I say that the body holds infinite wisdom. So I left Italy. I actually, before leaving Italy, went to see an iridologist who got me healthy in a matter of 7 days. My skin was
Wow.
glowing, my mind was clear. People noticed me. People would say, wow, what did you do? You look different. And it was through a protocol of herbs and fresh salads only. And then slowly we were supposed to ease into regular food. But I moved because I had to. I lost my job. I was very sick. And I thought, okay, before I go, let me venture off to France and see if I'll do better there. And plus that, I wanted to learn the language because I absolutely love languages. And so I went to France, and I remember that I had an interview with a lady from Galveston as an au pair, which is really something because Galveston is 20 minutes from my home. I'm in a little city called Texas City, which is 20 minutes from Galveston and about 40 minutes from Houston. So I met her. She was going to get back to me. And in the meantime, I started with these horrible stomach cramps that would send me to the ER, and they would give me 500 milligrams of Zantac, and that would knock me out. So yes, I no longer felt the pain, the stomach pain that I was having because I was knocked out. And this was becoming a thing that I could no longer tolerate. So then I went to the emergency room in France, and the doctor did a couple of tests, and he said that it was the gallstones. And so they wanted to perform surgery. I wasn't too convinced. So what I did was, by the time that he came back to me, because the ER was full, it was during the summer and a lot of people were visiting, and I guess everybody got sick all at once. I came back home and I had to take an emergency flight, which cost me close to $1,000 the next
Wow.
day. So this also happened to me when I was in Peru. I was in Machu Picchu. I was actually in Cusco, which is close to Machu Picchu, and I had oh my goodness, what is that called when you completely go out? I can't think. When you have such a strong reaction to something,
Oh,
anaphylactic shock.
yeah.
I almost, I mean, literally almost didn't make it. I was put in a private hospital. I was in there for 3 days. I know what I ate, plus the stress because I had lost my wallet and I was left with no money and
Oh,
10 more days left of on my trip. And I was supposed to go to Colombia and Chile. So I've had quite the adventures
I'll
with
say.
gastrointestinal issues. And every one of these incidents have been nothing more than an invitation for me to look at my body. Unfortunately, often we relegate our body. And when we think about body, we think about sex or feeding it, but we don't see it as an entity unto itself. And this is where it's really detrimental for us if we don't see our body as separate from us.
Yeah.
We are not our body. Our body houses us, and our state of awareness, our field of awareness, our consciousness, if you will, is where all of this can be found. Now, because we live in our body, we're very closely intertwined with our body. But the minute you start thinking and seeing you as your body, you are going to get into trouble. Let me give you a very simple example. Yesterday, I got some candies from my mom's caretaker because it's Valentine's and I wanted to give her a gift. Well, I didn't have anything sweet in the house, so guess who ate them? Me.
Oops. Ooh.
Guess who got the rash? Me. You see, I love chocolate, but my body does not. Do you see that clear delineation between me and my body? That's
Yes.
what I'm talking about. So a lot of times we look at our bodies as though it had this is just a hole, and right above it is a sign that says feed here, deposit food here. And we're not really aware of how food feels in our body. And that's where we get into trouble. And then we're trying to suppress feelings and emotions. And let it be known, and this is something that's typical from the teachings of Access Consciousness, we feel with our brain, with our mind, but the body senses. So the body is truly a sensory organ.
It is.
When you are cold, do you feel the cold in here, or do you sense the cold on your body?
Yes.
Think about that. You sense it. You
Yeah.
sense it. Not the same thing as you feel. You feel an emotion. I feel sad. I feel joyous. I feel elated. But your body senses. If I were to take a hair and pull it and drop it on my hand, and I were totally unaware, distracted, doing something else, I can feel that hair. If I eat something that has MSG, I can feel it like that. Because we are sensory organs. And it's a matter of us learning to take the focus off of us and shift our attention to our body and what our body requires, which again is not always what we want.
So how do you do that? How do you develop that sensory awareness, especially if you've been brought up to shut yourself down, to ignore that, to think that what people tell you is the correct thing? Exactly. I mean, Aurelia, you're talking about the digestive issues. Well, a couple of years ago, I shifted from what I thought was a really healthy diet to this more keto paleo diet. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe how much I had spent evenings feeling bloated because of that combination of those grains. And I took the grains out of my life, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so wonderful not to feel that bloating. And I had no idea. I just thought that's the way it feels.
Well, I think one of the most important things is that you take back all of your power and go deep within and ask your body what it requires, and ask it what it knows that it can share with you. And so when you take away all of the doctors, the 3-letter agencies, the government, all of these entities, businesses, and people that have no business telling you what to do with your body, and you go within, and if you're a person of faith, you look to the divine of your understanding and you ask it to guide you, you will get awarenesses. Or you ask yourself, or you do a kinesiology test, or you start asking questions, and you will have things come at you that you've never thought of before. People will call you. You'll see something on the internet. Somebody will come to mind. You'll call them. They'll tell you about something.
In other words, you're saying that once you make the decision, you're going to attract the right people into your life and the information.
Right. Once you start asking questions, and once you are truly open to receive without judgment, because somebody can come to you and say, how about this? And that doesn't resonate. And then 2 seconds later, they say, and this. Oh, now that sounds interesting. But if you judge it, they said this, and this thing is not good, I'm going to put a big X there. Well, the universe stops delivering. You stop getting your awarenesses. And we seem to think that awareness has to be good. And awareness can be, first of all, there is really no good or bad. It's either for you or not for you. If you look at it in those terms, then you're able to receive, you open up and you get all sorts of information. I just had something miraculous happen like that in one day. In literally from yesterday afternoon late to today, I got my little miracle, the one I was telling you about earlier. And she's in my home right now.
Oh, right. The puppy dog. That's great.
Well,
awesome.
She's a big dog. But the question was, what can I do with my dog who hasn't received the training that she required to be happy, to be in her element?
Mhm.
So I asked myself, I asked the universe, and I was ready to receive. So my friend said, look, I have this service dog. Would you like to do a swap? I'll train your dog, give her to a vet that is looking for a lap dog, and you can have this dog that's stressed out because there are a lot of pit bulls around here. And her immune system, just like ours, is regulated by the amount of stress and the environment, and she has some rashes on her body. And those rashes are due to her immune system being in a constant state of alert, being in the fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous
Yeah.
system.
Well, Aurelia, I want to get back to your topic because
Yes.
you
I'm
just, yeah, I want
all
to,
over
yeah,
the place.
I know. Well, I understand, but you talk about getting in rapport with your body and letting your body be your guide. Well, if I let my body be my guide, wouldn't it want to like have that dark chocolate? I know it's going to want that dark chocolate.
Well,
So how do you know when I mean, of course, when you've eaten the wrong thing because it
right,
hurts, it doesn't feel good. That's how you
right.
know. Of course, the mind immediately forgets that the next time there's chocolate in front of you or whatever it is. How do you
Yeah.
develop that rapport where you can really have a good relationship?
So the rapport is developed by asking your body. You can do muscle testing. I always get a yes going forward and a no going back, and my body will definitely tell me.
Can
Or
you show us how to do that muscle
yeah,
testing?
so the muscle testing is where you simply I stand up, and sometimes I'll hold the food to my chest, or
Mhm.
I'll ask body, do you want this? So if I ask right now, body, give me a yes. I'm not standing. Let's see, body, can you give me a yes? I got a slight forward.
Right.
And then you ask your body what a no looks like. So you ask your body and you're aware, am I full? Would you like another bite? And then you're also aware after that. This may be a little bit more advanced, for lack of a better word. Another thing that you can do is that you can ask your body to to guide you to what it wants. Like if you go to a restaurant, you open up a menu. What would you like, body? Usually you'll open the menu and you'll notice something. That's what your body requires. And sometimes it will show you something that you've never had before. Another thing is, how do you feel after you eat? Do you feel bloated? Do you feel gassy? Do you have an extra bowel movement? Do you feel woozy? I feel these things and I notice, but that's because these things have been put in my path before and I've experienced them. So the minute that I'm off, I know it. I went to see the chiropractor today and he adjusted my atlas. I knew my atlas was off because I've been having pain for the past week or so. And that tells, and I can't just without even thinking, I would just put my hand here because I was looking to ease some of the pain that I had here because my atlas was off. And I got to tell you, he tells me that out of all the patients he has, I'm the most fun and I'm the best to work with because I am in tune with my body. So while he's adjusting me, I'm asking my body to make it as ease filled for me and to be gentle and to receive that adjustment. There's no resistance there. I'm asking body, what can you contribute? These are tools from Access Consciousness too. Body, what can you contribute to make this adjustment stick? Body, what can you contribute to make it easy for me?
Okay, so that sounds great, but I know
Yeah.
some people who are pretty body deaf, and they're going to. And I ask them, well, what does your heart say? What does your body say? They do not have a clue. So
Right.
how do you actually teach somebody how to listen to their body so that they really get information they can trust?
You start to practice it. It's a muscle, and the more you ask, the more aware you become. And then you can also use some of the clearings from Access Consciousness to clear out all of the, oh my goodness, there are so many things that have been projected at us. So we're expected to feel a certain way when we do something or not feel a certain way when we don't do something. And so we have suffocated ourselves and literally cut off parts of our body and our awareness because we're busy following the crowd. We go out to a restaurant, everybody has cake, pardon me, but the people that we're with are overweight. And then They ask us if we want some. We know that's not something we eat, but in order to fit in and to not stand out, we're going to have it. I've had clients like this, and they have literally sabotaged their surgery, their weight loss surgery, because they wanted to fit in. And
Yeah.
so when you're not, this is what I mean by choosing, and choosing for you and your body. So for me, I'm choosing to be aware. For my body, I'm choosing to follow the awareness that my body gives me. And it may not be pleasant. Sometimes my body will tell me, get up, and I'm a little tired, but I get up and I stretch before before you go to bed. Put on some cream. My body will tell me it's cold. I get up and turn the heat up. I have some hot chocolate. I have some tea. My body's always, our bodies are sensory organs. When you look at it that way, our bodies are always telling us something. But we are the ones that have suppressed all of these awarenesses that will lead us to the next best thing, because we're busy following everybody else and doing what everybody else says.
So there's that other I talked about in my 4 superpowers. So I want to open up the chat or even the lines to anybody who might have questions for Aurelia, because it's clear, Aurelia, you really, really know how to listen to your body. And you had a lot of experience with nutrition personally,
Yes.
as well as in your studies about what kind of things might work and what might not work.
Yes.
But maybe some of our guests or even our other speaker have some questions for you. Does anybody have questions? And feel free to speak, or I can even bring you on stage if you want to do that. You can raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, so I have one last question, and then we're going to invite Amy on. What is one thing we can say to empower better health?
Oh, I say this in the morning. I take a lukewarm shower and then a cold shower, let it hit my chest and my back 5 times when the cold water hits my chest, and 5 times when it hits the back. Every cell in my body is vibrating with radiant health, well-being, energy, and abundance.
Oh, I did try turning my hot shower down to cold for a little while, just really quickly. And since the winter came, it's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to hot. It's cold enough in the morning. I mean, I get up at 5:30 in the morning and I go out and I do all these exercises. It's cold out there. I don't want to be cold.
Yeah,
but I know that it activates really, really important systems in your body when you subject it to extreme heat or extreme cold. It like really kind of supercharges it, doesn't it?
Yes, and Wim Hof has this as a practice. And what I do too, because I sometimes experience pain in my hip and my knees, I use Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life, as the Bible. And so I know that the hips are moving forward in life. And I say every joint in my body is moving with ease and grace and flow. I move forward in life with joy and ease and glory. I say all sorts of things. The knee problems, ego. My ego serves me. My ego contributes to me instead of hating on the ego and no, the ego is bad. That doesn't do any good.
No, that only makes you hate yourself, and that's not what we're about.
Exactly.
Any last things you want to say? Do you want to post something in the chat about your thing that's coming up, your webinar?
This is an upcoming webinar called Food and Mood, because as we know, food also affects how we feel and how we perform. It's this coming Friday from 3 to 4 Central, and it's an hour long, and the link for you to register is right there.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to probably come back to you later, but we're halfway through the show and I want to bring Amy on. So I'm going to go ahead and come back on and going to read Amy's bio. Amy Charland is our next guest, and she works with high-achieving leaders who feel overwhelmed and exhausted, yet keep pushing through due to fear of failing and becoming irrelevant or even forgotten. As a master coach, Amy brings over 12,000 hours of professional wellness coaching experience in the corporate world. With her wealth of knowledge, Amy supports her clients in creating a lifestyle that runs smoothly, like a well-oiled machine that rarely breaks down. Notice Both of them are talking about the body as a machine. As a result, her clients feel better, have more energy, and enjoy life. So Amy, I'm going to bring you onto the stage. Hold on.
Oh,
Amy, thank
perfect.
you for
Thank you.
joining. Yeah.
Yes, it's so
Yeah.
great to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm really, really happy. I've been looking forward to this. Wow, 6 months, right?
Yes, it's been a long time. And I'll be honest, I haven't really spoken about this much since then. And so it was really fun to go through the data again to prepare for this evening to talk about zombie cells. I'm excited.
Well, before you start talking about zombie cells, I had a question about your bio in which you talked about
Yes.
12,000 hours of working as a professional coach with the corporate world. How did that look? How did you do that? I mean, did corporations hire a wellness coach? That's so amazing.
I've worked internally with a healthcare organization, and I've worked with just executives from all over the world. I've worked also with doctors and lawyers. I mean, you name it, I've probably worked with someone in some sort of field, policemen, I'm trying to think, nonprofits.
Oh, I bet you've got some
organizers.
interesting stories.
Worked with a lot of people, and I've really especially enjoyed working with executives because they're busy and they're stressed and they're trying to do their best every day. And I love supporting leaders because I really so believe in strong leadership, and I want to support those leaders who want to do good in the world. And so that's why I really love working with the executive folks. And so I've enjoyed that population.
That's fantastic. Well, you seem like a really good person for those people who want to do leadership work with the executive or the corporate community. You may be a good person to network with.
Yes.
Out there, everybody. Okay, so now we're gonna unfold and unwrap the subject of the zombie cells.
And yes, I love this topic, and I can't remember how I came across it. It was some random, you know, how you're doing a Google search for some topic, and all of a sudden I came across something called zombie cells. I'm like, oh, this can't be real. And I ran across it and started reading about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real. These are cells in our body. And really the formal name of these is scent cells, but they're just informally called zombie cells because they act very much like zombies. And perhaps those of you in the audience, if you've ever watched any type of zombie movie or show, and I'm a geek, I love The Walking Dead, that's probably why I love this topic. It is fascinating how these cells in our body are so in alignment with what we were seeing in entertainment, in fiction. For example, when you have a zombie, what they do is they are half dead, right? And they can't reproduce, but they're going around and they're infecting good people, good, healthy people. And that's exactly what zombie cells do. They are half dead, they refuse to die, they hang around in our body and they infect other cells and they don't reproduce anymore, but they're just there to, sometimes they're good. For instance, sometimes what happens, especially when we're younger, is they will kick in the immune system. They will indicate, hey, something is not right here, and it kicks in the immune system, and that can be really helpful. And then our system just flushes out these half-dead cells. But as we age, what happens is these cells start to accumulate in our body. So they are associated with things like Alzheimer's, osteoarthritis, diabetes, and a whole host of other potential diseases that tend to go along with age. Not always, but
So
tend
how
to
do
be along
zombie
with
cells?
age.
how do zombie cells arise? Is that just like wear and tear on the body and they just show up, or does some
Yes.
zombie come along and touch you and then, oh my God, I got zombie cells?
I love it. I was just reading, Michelle, that actually they're in embryos, and they're in our body. They are completely natural. They are part of just the natural process. It just, as we age, they just tend to accumulate a bit more. And it could be because these cells have reproduced too many times, or it could be that they were damaged in some way. And so they just decide that, the body says, hey, it's time for you to die, but those cells just want to hang on. They're like, I don't want to die. I want to hang around for a bit longer. And yeah, so they're just a natural part of our body.
Okay, so so how do they impact us? Is it that they're utilizing the nutrients and the energy in our system, but they're not giving back? Is that the problem with them?
The problem with them is really these proteins that they are oozing. And so they're infecting other cells. And when they start to infect other cells, then that's what leads to some of these conditions or diseases, chronic illnesses that, once again, tend to happen as we age. And they also are contributing to age. And so this is really interesting. This is where millions, if not billions of dollars are being really put into the research around this. I think I was just reading there's like 12 different like biotech organizations that are looking at how do we kill zombie cells, because they're looking at it as the potential fountain of youth. Is if we can remove these zombie cells, what does that mean for us as humans? The trouble is that a lot or most of the studies have been done on mice. For instance, I was just reading about a study where mice who were older age, I don't know how old a mouse is, once it's considered
6
senior
months.
mouse.
Oh my God, they were so old.
I know. I was reading something about like a 2-year-old mouse. It's like, oh, is that like a senior mouse? I don't know. But
ancient.
Yes. And what they had done is they had removed the zombie cells. And they're talking about how this mouse had like more luxurious hair, and it was just functioning at a higher level. And I thought, wow, that's fascinating. The trouble is to really put that into the human body, and what does that do? And so human trials are much trickier. We haven't really been able to have or see those type of results, just because, of course, there's a lot of ethics around that within humans.
Putting zombie cells into people's bloodstream. Yeah, maybe that's not so cool.
Right. Or, and some of these drugs too, I mean, we don't know the consequences of them. I think they're called senolytic. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but these types of drugs, what they're finding is there could be some potential side effects. And in mice, it works great. It gets rid of zombie cells, but we're not too sure how well it will work in humans. And also, these types of drugs may only combat certain types of zombies or zombie cells. So there's different types of zombie cells that are impacting different parts of our body. So there may be a whole host of these type of drugs. So there's a ton of research going on in this area. And one of the researchers, and this is what I'm super excited about talking about this, because as a wellness coach, I don't have no medical degree. I don't have no background in biology. But what I love about this is that the Mayo Clinic, I think this was just a year or so ago, did a study. I think it was about 34 participants, and they had them start an exercise program. They did this exercise program for 12 weeks, and then they drew their blood, and they had the pre-blood that they had drawn, which showed that, there was zombie cell activity because of that protein I was talking about. It was in the blood. So they weren't able to like go and look, oh, does this person have zombie cells like under a microscope? But they were like, oh, but there's that protein that indicates there are zombie cells. So after the 12 weeks, they pulled the blood again, and the protein was much less, indicating less zombie cells. So you don't need all these fancy drugs. You can be ahead of the curve and be able to start to kill zombie cells just by having an exercise program. That's why I'm super excited about it, is because that's safe and it's effective and we know it works.
And you can do it yourself. You don't
cells,
have to
right?
take drugs that have side effects. That's awesome.
Exactly.
So is
And
that
so
how you work with your clients, is through exercise programs, or what do you do for your clients to reduce their zombie cells or to give them more vitality and energy? And
Oh, sure. And I work very holistically. And so I work really with the client to figure out, okay, what's the underlying issue here? What's really getting in the way? Because, weight and poor eating habits and lack of exercise, that's all a symptom of something else, right? And so I really like to go underneath that, work with my clients on what is really getting in the way, what's keeping you from being your best, and building a program that's unique to them. And often it involves stress management and building resiliency and sleep and exercise and healthy eating, not all at once though, just one little bit at a time. I really love the concept of tiny habits. That's coming out of Stanford. BJ Fogg has done a lot of research around tiny habits. And so I really like to help my clients build tiny habits, which are very small, consistent habits that can change our neural pathways. Because I've seen way too many people try to make too many changes at once, and it all falls apart. And then it decreases their self-efficacy, is just essentially their belief in themselves. And then they have a more difficult time making those changes the next time because they've lost that confidence in their ability.
I hear you. Okay. Well, that sounds like a great way to work with people, is little baby steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
And getting them to start to change and to feel the elation of success, and that helps to encourage them to make the next success. And I have to say,
definitely.
Personally, I'm like, I start something and I have that discipline. When I started running, and I ran marathons, and I could do it every day. And every morning I get up at 5:30 in the morning in order to do my yoga and meditation and do my walk every morning, 5:30 in the morning. Well, I like the quiet time, but not everybody has that, that commitment to do that. And then there are some things that I don't have that commitment for. So we all have our little places. So do you have something that you want to offer people to find out more about you, or something that they can do to find out more about your work? And also, is there something else you want to talk about before I ask you that question?
Well, I could just give quickly, I'm updating the website right now, just Charland.com. It just talked right now, it's talking about change, because it's really focused on helping people make changes, behavior changes. But you may see, I just realized that in my little name tag there for Zoom, it says Maker, Maven, Nurturer. And I realized I didn't take that off because I am really moving towards something is a real passion of mine, is really wellness and career, that combination. And so I've just recently become certified as a Spark type advisor, which is a brand new assessment where we learn what lights us up, what sparks us. And I am just so excited about that work, and really excited about how that connects with wellness. I've always been a huge believer that well-being and career are very intricately tied. And actually, Gallup just released a book I've just been loving about well-being and the workplace. And they have found too, there's a huge connection between career and well-being. And the zombie cells, kind of tying this back to zombie cells.
You bet.
Zombie cells are so new. The research is so incredibly new around that. I'm going to venture to guess that as the research continues to come out, a lot of these practices that we're already doing related to healthy lifestyle just might be related to killing zombie cells, because we're still so new and really exploring this. So I'm very excited about the science and what that might mean. And if we can really enjoy our work and do work that really lights us up, that makes us feel good, that we feel fulfilled and satisfied with, that just has just a beautiful ripple effect on all areas of our life. And who knows, someday there might be research that says, yes, being in a career you love kills zombie cells. Who knows?
Awesome. Well, it totally makes sense. The more content and more happy you are, the less stressed you are, the less likely you're going to binge eat or eat the wrong things. And it just the less stressed you are, the less, what Aurelia's dog was having, all those skin ailments, you're going to have less of that. That when we're in that in stress, we're in that fight, flee, freeze mode, and literally throwing chemicals into our body that are toxic to our health. So it makes a lot of sense that if you are happy and content, and we're trying to figure this out. And the cool thing is that so many people are out there trying to find a solution and share it with other people. So I'm really, really excited that you're doing that. And yes, go ahead and check out Charland.com. I love it that you have your website is your name. I love that. And I want to, again, open up the conversation. In fact, I'm going to stop the spotlight. I'm going to open everybody up. Well, do you mind being outed? No, I will just bring Aurelia on and me on, and then we're going to open up the questions. And if you want to join, you can join. Let me add me, and let me add Aurelia. Okay, so anybody out there want to ask questions, please ask either Aurelia or Amy, or make comments, or oh my gosh, I'm so bright. Sorry about that. I look like a ghost. Sorry about that. I don't have the lighting quite right. Okay, so do either of you have any questions? Yes, Pat, you want to go ahead and ask?
Yes. I particularly found the zombie cells fascinating because
Great.
I hadn't heard of it before. And since 2008, I've been heavily researching potential causes and things you can do to ease dementia. And that's personal because my husband we started looking when he was at the MCI, or mild cognitive impairment, and we've been able to slow it down significantly.
Awesome.
And consistently, the things that we have found make the difference is exercise is about number one. Number two is meditation, usually mindfulness. Two, tied for two about is art of any kind.
Awesome.
Isn't that awesome? For us, the biggest thing is improv and anything creative and engagement. So they're just beginning to study food more. And the only people who have claimed to have had any types of full turnaround from dementia, there's been small groups. It's all had heavily focused on nutrition. And of course, getting out the sugar and all those other things. Gluten, sometimes yes, sometimes no. So do either of you have any other things to say about how your work relates to dealing with either the mild cognitive impairment, which a lot of people have, or the dementia, or for people who just want to avoid it? So I think it's the same group of people, that how what can help improve the brain for cognitive functions and memory.
Would you like to go first, Amy, or?
Sure. I just real briefly, Pat, thank you for sharing that. That was so enlightening. I hadn't thought about the creative piece, the dementia, but that makes a lot of sense. So thank you so much for sharing that. And all the research that I have studied really points to exercise as really key. So that's fantastic that you've done your research and you've implemented that with your spouse, and it's working. I'm just so excited for both of you.
But exercise is a challenge because for a lot of people, there's pain and there's body issues involved.
Yeah.
So even just any suggestions you have for like soreness or anything like that, that makes it harder to exercise. And that's common that I found with anybody who's dealing with, they need to exercise and the pain of it. So.
Yes, and there's, and Aurelia, please jump in here. I just know from my background and the folks I've worked with, working with a physical therapist can be quite helpful. Or occupational therapist can be very helpful. And just also, I'm kind of worked in tandem with a pain clinic in one of the healthcare facilities. And really the use of mindfulness, because when we focus on pain, the pain grows, right?
Yeah.
And so to try to use mindfulness and a non-judgmental, just noticing, hey, there is that pain, and not putting a judgment on it, going, oh, that's really awful, that's horrible. I'm really trying to not focus on it, focus on those symptoms, but be able to just be mindful of them. I think that's really what we're talking about today. And Aurelia, I think you talked a lot about that too, just that mindfulness of the body.
Right.
And I think that is so powerful.
I have some news for you, some great news. First of all, again, we're not doctors. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one. I will tell you that there is one expert that has had several cases of people whose dementia and Alzheimer's has been reversed. I can attest to that. His name is Dale Bredesen. He is a known expert in the field. One of the things he talks about, along with Perlmutter, he did the foreword for his latest book, if I'm not mistaken, which came out either last year or the year before, is the ketogenic eating style. I do not call it a diet. It is not a diet. It is an eating style where you stop eating one food and you start eating another. Alzheimer's is the third form of diabetes. Brainwash, in his book Brainwash, David Perlmutter speaks about this. The other doctor that did Wheat Belly, I forgot his name, Davis, I believe is his last name. He talks about that. We can choose to stop eating grains, in particular wheat and sugar. Sugar and flour are killers. You can shift it and shape it any way you want. That's the fact. Now, some people are ascended enough to where they have trained their body, and I know people like this personally, to where whatever they eat, their system assimilates it. Most of us are not at that level. Most of us. I know someone personally who does eat bread, who I don't think he eats junk, but he does engage in bread. I know for me, I eat bread and I get bloated. I eat grains and I get bloated. I have MSG and I get woozy, and I can tell if I've had MSG. Most of us are not even, and I'm more aware than most people because I've had issues that have made me either be aware or die, like when I was in Peru. So when you take this apart and you look, that's the physical aspect. When you look at this from an emotional aspect, you are looking at someone, this may be painful. Several people that are into the body, mind association and relationship will tell you that that is someone that no longer wants to be here. They are evading life. My mother right now is bedridden in assisted living. And believe it or not, right now, she's probably the happiest she's been in a long time. She doesn't have to worry about anything. And she doesn't have to constantly go against what I say or me against what she says. She's at peace. It's no quality of life. But a lot of times you will hear that people go into these states of mind because they don't want to face what's in front of them. Because let's be frank, life, if you don't know how to handle it, how to live it, can be hard. Many people are choosing to exit the planet right now because it is hard. And this isn't political or this is right. It's just, I can't take it. I just read within the past week of 3 or 5 people that have committed suicide.
Mm,
Not due to one thing or another. They cannot take it. So some people choose to be here still to embody this planet with their physical body here, but their mind is gone because they can't take it. So I'm not saying that's your husband's case. I am saying, look at that, because that is a factor. You see, this is what I do when I work with my clients. We look at the emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual. Those are the 4 cells. Until you address each one of those, you are not fully going to heal, because I can drink water and eat air, but if in my mind it's full of, I go to the mirror and I think I'm fat and I think I'm ugly and I hate my body, guess what? I'm going to actualize or manifest something else, because I'm giving my cells that command. If instead I go to the mirror or I take a shower and I say, you got this, Oralia, and I give myself a high five, which is something I learned from Mel Robbins. You can do this. In the morning, I meditate and I write down everything that's going on. I do a brain dump, and I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning during the
oh,
week.
you beat me. Okay.
I beat you. Yeah. And I'm not saying that I just do. And then I write down what I'm firing. What am I firing? After I do the brain dump, I think, that was lack of self-confidence. That was fear. And I fire the fear and I fire the self-confidence. And most of the day I'm good. And then some days I'm not. And that's okay. There's no judgment. There's just choice. Okay, I did this yesterday and that didn't quite work out. Let me move a little bit this way. That's what a coach does. They kind of point you in the right direction. And it's sort of just a little bit of a degree here or there. And if you're working with a good coach, they are not going to tell you what to do unless you come and you say, look, I'm feeling horrible. I'm feeling sick. And then you give me permission to tell you. But even then, you still have to go and try what I say and come back and tell me it worked or it didn't work. Let's tweak it here. I like the salad, but I didn't like the dressing. Well, let's see, what kind of dressing do you have? Oh, I've got this. Oh, that could be a problem. Let's try this. And I give you options. Humans like options. We don't like to be told, don't do this and this and this. I've heard of people as recently as 2 months ago that went to an acquaintance of mine and said, you want to lose weight? You've got to stop eating meat. You've got to stop eating all animal products. She flipped out. Do you think she will probably ever hire a coach? No, because there's that resistance. You're coming against everything I've been doing.
Okay, so I gotta start
I'm
wrapping it
sorry.
up because Pat, I wanted to share one other thing with you, because both my mother died of Alzheimer's. No, not my mother. My father died of Alzheimer's and my husband's mother died of Alzheimer's. And we read this book called Genius Foods by Max Lugavere. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
So that goes through the biology of all the things that Aurelia was talking about. It's a fabulous book. And I have to tell you that I changed our diet on a dime. From one day to the next, we threw tons of food out and changed our diet. And mainly the main thing is that we do the intermittent fasting. We don't eat for 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that has made a huge difference in my digestion and in my skin and everything. And it's just a preventative, because I don't want to get Alzheimer's. And when you read the studies, and it's just tons of studies that he reveals in there about the certain things that we put in our bodies and how it affects us chemically. And you'll understand why. And when you have the understanding, it gives you the motivation.
Right.
Yeah.
That gets rid of those senescent cells, those zombie cells, because they die. They're not being fed.
They're not being fed.
So,
So
Author again for Genius Foods.
Max Lugavere, L-U-G.
it's Lugavere, Lugovere. He's a
Lugavere.
man. Yes, I've heard of him. Yes, I have.
But it's a really, really, really excellent book. And for me, even though I'm a spiritual person, I like the science when it's there, when they do the studies and it keeps on repeating over and over again. It's like, yes, that sounds good to me. And it has definitely changed, both easier. I mean, after I hit menopause, it was really hard for me to lose weight. And this, I mean, both my husband and I lost weight, like it just disappeared. And then we, settled. And even now, every time I get off the path for a while for the holidays or whatever, and I get back on it, I just go right back.
Yes.
So this was fabulous, guys. It was such a pleasure to have both you, Aurelia, and Amy. Harriet, did you have any questions before we left? You're good?
She's happy.
You're happy. Okay. So Aurelia, thank you. Amy, thank you. And any of you who are listening later, go ahead and reach out to our lovely guests. And if you want to have that body activation series, please go ahead and get that. It's at, tinyurl.com. Is it / body / activation? And have a great week and come back. Our next Healers Connection, which you will get information about that. That's it for tonight. Be brilliant and bye for now.
Thank you.